Hey, what's up, guys? It's Onepeg here with Arn. Before I get into this, I just wanted to say my birthday is going to be on Sunday, May 3rd. Yep, I've got a birthday, just like everyone else. I'm doing a celebration marathon stream on Saturday, and hopefully you guys can make it and kind of like ring in my birthday as the midnight hour approaches, and we can kind of all celebrate together. Looking forward to seeing you if you guys decide to stop by. So, you decide to, while sipping your morning coffee, head on into your hideout and send your team of loyal yet bribed scavs out on yet another hunting mission for sweet, sweet loot. But, what do you pay them? You want to make sure that your scav friends are adequately compensated for what they find, but you also don't want to overpay for their services. This is all about capitalism, after all. And then, it starts. You remember high school and statistics. But don't worry, little buddy. I got you. One of the most common things I've been asked about during the course of my streams, shameless plug, I'm live every day from 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is GMT minus 4 or 5 for those of you that may or may not recognize daylight savings time, is which scav case is most worth running, if any of them. Over the last 3 weeks or so, many members of both my community and Veritas' community and I have pooled together our collective resources to run, screen cap, loot, value, and catalog as many successive runs as possible under the premise that we were trying to get as large of a data set as would allow us to realistically determine which of these, if any, were worth doing. This was done under the assumption that everyone taking place would report every single scav case run they were doing over the time period, and that they were going to not just report the good ones or just show off. We obviously needed the bad data too. The ultimate goal here is to be able to predict the profitability of any of the case runs, especially in the sense of something with a variable cost like moonshine or intelligence. Now, this all started into motion because of a conversation I had with another streaming personality, Al Smizzle, who is most well known for his stellar performance in the fantasy football space during the NFL season, and whom also happens to be a great friend and an avid player of Tarkov. I'd really recommend checking him out. And I mean, check him out. I mean, he's damn good looking. Anyway, Al was and is under the impression that the intelligence folder over time netted the most money. So I set out to see if that was actually true. Also, while I'm at it, I want to thank all of the guys in my community and in Veritas' community. A huge thank you goes out to my friend Arendahl and secondarily M. Lennon. I can't even believe I just said thank you. Without whom this would have taken 3 times as long to produce. I'm just kidding, Lennon. You know I love you. I would give you a TLDR, but in this case, there's really no short answer, which is something that I'll explain as we get into it. There's a difference here in profitability depending on your situation, and there's also some differing ways to look at what it means to be profitable, but more on that in a bit. If you absolutely are in need of a short answer, here it is. Every single one of the scav cases over time makes money. They make a lot. Run whatever one you want. The RNG eventually will net you a significant amount of cash. The only difference is how much of an investment you have to make to beat out the statistics of winning versus losing. Ultimately, though, you'll make money. Hi. Editor Onepeg here in the 5-0 hat. Shout out to Donut. Love you, buddy. That's not entirely true, especially lately. Now, most of this data has been collected over the last 6 to 7 weeks. I mean, it's been a pretty long process. All of the stuff that I've calculated has to do with what prices were back when they were relatively reasonable, meaning that it's not going to be profitable for you if you're paying $250K for moonshine. It's not going to be profitable for you if you're paying $225K for intelligence folders. Keep that in the back of your mind because this is obviously calculable, and I'll show you what our baselines were, but grain of salt, okay? Just grain of salt. Just bear with it, all right? All right? I love you. Love you. Okay. We ignored the 100 ruble case. Sure, you make money, but we're here for stacks, man. Stacks. I'm going to break this video up into categories by each case type, what was spent, what was earned, and our success rates for each, and then go over the comparisons, offering up some interesting figures when we start looking at the data itself. But before we get into that, first I need to explain how these cases work, because I don't think most people do, and only certain types of items end up spawning in each type of case. Tarkov loot is divided up into different levels of rarity. I know, huge brain info there, right? But this goes from common to rare to super rare, and finally non-existent. Non-existent means that they don't spawn anywhere in the game on any map. Think of it like it's an item that's only found on traders. Like an items case, non-existent. A weapons case, super rare, because we know it spawns in marked rooms, for example. Items that spawn inside of the scav case when you do your loot run spawn based on this level of rarity. It does not, as far as I am aware, limit in any way the items of that category you can get. Just items of that type. Here's what I mean. For example, the scav case, depending on which one you run, targets items of different rarities. For instance, the 100 ruble case will net you 1 to 2 common items and possibly a rare item. 1 rare item, maybe. The 6,000 ruble case will give you 1 common item and 1 to 3 rares. The 70,000 ruble case is 1 to 3 rares and 1 to 2 super rare. The moonshine case is 1 rare and 4 to 6 super rare. And the intel folder is 2 to 4 rare and 2 to 3 super rare. So, if you're focusing on the Jaeger or Ragman tasks later on in the game, whereas it requires a common loot drop, and you're spamming the 70k scav case praying for rain, you're guaranteed to come up dry, because common items don't drop from the 70k case. Conversely, if you're hoping for key drops or a paracord, which are mostly super rare, you'll want to look at doing moonshine runs, as over time these have the highest potential item count of super rare items for all of the different cases. If you're looking for an item of a specific type, and you're curious as to the rarity of it, the description has a link to my Discord. In the Escape from Tarkov section at the top, there's an info market bot channel that will allow you to search for any item in Tarkov by name and provide info about that item, including its level of rarity. Now, just as a quick disclaimer, I did not make the bot. It was provided to me by a member of the community. I don't even know who created it, but I do know that it gives you the item rarity when you enter in your query. So use it if you want to. It's there. Now that that's out of the way, we can discuss runs for profit. Before I start to show you the stats, though, take a second to imagine which one you think would be the most profitable. Is it 6K, 70K, Moonshine, or Intelligence? What do you think? First, I'll show you the stats, and then I'll let you guess which one you think each was. And remember, there's no 100 ruble case for these. I'll show you the total amount spent and total amount earned at the end, so we don't give anything away. A couple of things to keep in mind. The Moonshine case runs were based on the cost to manufacture Moonshine, not to buy it at retail price. The average cost that we settled on for manufacturing Moonshine was 185,000 rubles. This obviously can be adjusted for calculating future outcomes, but we thought 185k made sense at the time. Okay, so here we go. So we have cases 1, 2, 3, and 4. Case 1, 112 runs. Case 2, 102 runs. Case 3, 117 runs. Case 4, 123 runs. First category is win percentage. This is the likelihood that the case made money. Case 1 had a win rate of 47.89%, just below 50. Case 2 had a win rate of 94.06%. Almost every single one was a winner. Case 3 was 42.74%, and case 4 was 46.22. Now, the last category before I show you guys the big reveal, and then we get into the totals. Average earnings per hour. So the average for case 1, 15,776 rubles. Case 2, 19,501. Case 3, 18,881. And case 4 was 32,787. Almost double what all of the other cases were. So you think you have them figured out? All right, here's your big reveal. Case 1, Intelligence. Case 2, 70K. Case 3, 6K. Case 4, Moonshine. Were you guys right? Well, I hope not, because those weren't the right answers. These are. Case 1 is Moonshine. Case 2 is 6K. Case 3 is Intel. And Case 4 is 70K. Hopefully you guys guessed right. And finally, the big stuff. For time spent, for the 100-plus runs, for Moonshine was 521.92 hours. For 6K, 217.56 hours. The Intel case was 3 times what it took the 6K case at 623.61, because it's over 5 hours per case in the case of Intel. And the 70K case was 276.75. Okay, and finally, net profit, our earnings minus expenses. So for Moonshine, what we made over the course of those 100 plus runs was 13,562,578, 13.5 million. For the 6K case, it was just shy of 4 million at 3.964. The Intel case was 11.39 million, and the 70K case was just about 8 million. And most of this doesn't seem very surprising, but there are some things I found interesting. So, the highest success rate by a huge margin and the highest profit margin also by a huge percentage was by far the 6K case. So what this means is if you're strapped for cash, but you're looking for a nearly guaranteed return on investment, the 6K case is about as surefire of a bet as it gets, 94 out of 100. Also, surprisingly in this case, was the 70K case's earnings per hour, because it was nearly double that of every other case. This means in the time it took for us to run 100 Intel case runs, or 100 plus Intel case runs, the 70K case would be the most profitable by about 5 million more rubles than all of the other competition. And you would have been able to make more than double the number of attempts. But the most interesting thing is what happens when we start looking at the actual runs themselves. The only case that had a win percentage higher than 50% was the 6K case. This means that in every other one of these circumstances, there's going to be anomalous large returns on certain case runs to make up for the lack of consistent profitability, because remember, we're below 50% on wins. The problem with this is that if the odds don't end in your favor due to things like market fluctuations or the good old-fashioned dice roll ruining your chances at making it big, you end up broke. For example, on one of the 70K case runs, someone got a green labs key card. At the time was sold on the market for 2.47 million rubles. So, if we don't get something that good, what happens? Well, in this simulated output of all our runs, all I did was trim the best and worst 1% of outcomes. So along with the green key card on our 70K run, for instance, we also get to wipe away a handful of like HP rounds or something that came back and were garbage. So what did this do? Well, the percentages were nearly the same in terms of success rate because we only rid ourselves of like a couple of runs, but the ruble outcomes were drastically different. In the case of Moonshine, our earnings per hour fell into the red at a negative value of 25,519 rubles per hour lost. Our 6K run returned significantly less at only 9,400 rubles an hour. The intelligence case had a negative return as well of negative 22,849 rubles per hour. And the super profitable 70K case returned only 572 rubles per hour. A significant difference. So what does this tell us? It tells us that for each category of rare and super rare items, there are some very highly sought after and lucrative items for the flea market that may or may not show up in our cases. And in order to turn a profit, you have to keep running them until you hit something large. In short, the RNG of these cases being profitable is nearly solely reliant on high-value anomalous runs that could only come along once or twice every 100 or 200 attempts. However, when they do come in, they more than make up for any losses incurred over the longer term. You just have to weather the storm and turn a profit. So what's the moral of the story? If you're low on money, run the 6K case. You'll almost always make money. If you manufacture moonshine and you aren't paying 250 to 300K a bottle, you'll make money on it, but you still won't make as much as the 70K case. You're better off selling the moonshine you make and reinvesting that into 2 or 3 70K case runs over that same period of time. However, if you're looking for specific rarities of items, Intel folder runs and moonshine runs will give you the best chance for a rare and or super rare item depending on what it is that you're targeting. Ultimately, though, the decision is obviously up to you and what you decide to do with your money and your scav case runs. If the idea is to try and get a bunch of keys, then the moonshine is going to be your best bet. However, you will not likely see something like that come back. Not for a while anyway. So if you're planning on doing something like a moonshine case run, I would say be prepared to throw a good 8 to 10 million rubles at something like that before you end up making any real money. But anyway, thanks for checking this out, guys. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer what I can. I hope you're all safe from the Rona, washing your hands, and hopefully not getting too stir-crazy. We'll see you hopefully in the next stream, and I will see you guys again in the next video. Cheers.